weekend. Each man must do his bit.
Welcome to another edition of The Public Interest. My name is David Granger, and on this series of programs, we examine issues of interest to the Guyanese population at home and abroad. And at this time of the year, we turn our attention to the topic of the family. In particular, in this program, I'll be dealing with the idea or the concept of the Holy Family, which is essentially Christian. And of course, Christmas is all about Christian belief and doctrine. And there is actually, in some branches of Christianity, I'm not sure of all the branches, but some branches of Christianity, there's something or an event called the Feast of the Holy Family. And this feast or festival commemorates the lives of the family comprising the child Jesus, the mother Mary, and the earthly father Joseph. The celebration was originally adopted or founded by the Roman Catholic Church, but it was eventually adopted by other churches as well. It falls on the first Sunday after Christmas, during the Christmas season. And I'm not sure what day it is, maybe the 31st, Sunday the 31st of December will be the Feast of the Holy Family for those churches which observe the Feast of the Holy Family. Maybe others don't, but the Catholic Church probably had a very good reason for creating this festival. It is not something that the Bible ordained. It's something that humans invented, but it's still a useful concept. The family, in general, in a secular sense, not necessarily religious sense, is unsurpassed as a fundamental social institution, universally and personally. All of us came from a family. The question is how valid that institution is for looking after children. The family should be a place of affection, of breathing, of care, of comfort, sustenance. And the child, from infancy, of course, can get guidance, and especially in times of deprivation. And recently, as you know, in times of disease, the coronavirus, and in times of destitution or poverty. And it is very important, if you've ever held a baby in your arms, a newborn baby, you'll see how helpless that child is. And it is important for that child to come into a family, to enter a family, and to enjoy the benefits of affection, of breathing, of care, of comfort, and sustenance. The child is completely helpless. The child is completely helpless without care, mother's care, and of course, father's attention. The family is celebrated as an institution to strengthen the bonds of friendship, of fellowship, and kinship, because a child is obviously related to his or her kindred. But it is essential for a child's sense of affinity and identity. The family furnishes the shared resources that a child needs: food, safety, shelter, and if the child falls ill, care, especially for the weak and disabled, like the older folk, and of course to prepare for the next generation. A happy family fosters happy households. Happy households foster happy communities. And happy communities foster a happy nation. It is simplistic, but it's a good place to start. The family, of course, does not exist in a vacuum. It has to be protected, and it has to protect. It's a two-way street. The United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child emphasizes the importance of the family to the harmonious development of the child, who is entitled to grow up in an atmosphere of affection, breathing, care, comfort, and sustenance. The child is nurtured best in an environment in which fathers and mothers play complementary roles. I won't go further, but fathers have a role to play, mothers have a role to play. And the child benefits best if fathers and mothers play the important roles in bringing the child up. The family certainly needs protection. The family is a complicated institution, and sometimes there's a lot of conflict within the family. And it's not a homogeneous stereotype, not one size fits all. Different families, and sometimes people try to get away from the families because the families are so stressful. But sometimes families are very loving, and people long to have family reunions to get together again, especially at Christmas time. People come home to spend a Christmas, a typical Guyanese Christmas, with the family. And Christmas is not the same without the family. You don't go to a restaurant and sit down and order food. You want to go to a family living room or dining table, and enjoy Christmas lunch or Christmas dinner with the rest of the family. But the family is based on certain pillars, certain essentials, and certainly the most important are the elements of respect and elements of trust in one another. And these should be taken as seriously, if not more seriously, than household income. People think that a family has to be rich, but a family could be rich and not have respect, and that family could become dysfunctional. But I'm not a psychologist. All I'm saying is that respect and trust are necessary, but sometimes they are equally or even more necessary than household income. Family can play an essential role in preparing young couples for parentage, by providing the support that members need in times of distress, by promoting standards and values. The family is necessary to protect women and girl children from the adverse socioeconomic conditions of poverty and unemployment, which can threaten stability. Sometimes adolescents, growing up need advice at school and in their love life, and they need advice and guidance, and to make sure that their lives don't go off the rails. It can also be a dangerous place. And as I said, there's a lot of conflict sometimes in some families. And 1 in every 3 women in this country could expect to or has already experienced some form of physical or verbal or sexual abuse at the hands of an intimate partner. That is to say, either a family member or a very close friend. Sometime during their lifetime, at least 1/3 of our women will be abused in some way or the other. But the family could become more stable when income levels are stable. As you know, we're coming out of the coronavirus epidemic, and many young women and young men lost their jobs, never regained the jobs. A lot of jobs are being created around Guyana, but some of them, require skill in using buckets and brooms. They're not really the types of jobs that encourage upward mobility or education or skill. So we have to be careful what type of employment, is being made available, especially when we know that over 1,700 qualified public servants were removed peremptorily in 2020 after the administration change. Poor families need support in times of crisis. And more or less, Guyana has been in crisis for the last 3 years. The family does need a sound financial foundation to furnish comfortable housing in safe communities with access to education, healthcare, and facilities for play and recreation. Sometimes when these housing schemes are being developed, you don't only look for houses and roads and lights, you also look for places of relaxation and recreation and entertainment and sport. Uh, but many families face challenges, and the greatest impact of a stable union uh, is economic. There is an impact. When two adults are in union, notice my language, I'm being very prudent and very careful. When two adults are in a union, their combined income could help households um, to improve the quality of life by providing benefits to children and adults as well. So you need some stability. You don't have to be like excessively rich, but people need to be able to rely on income, a livable wage, which is what the trade unions call it, a livable wage. The family is necessary to support children in times of crisis, to reduce stress, and to enhance the levels of happiness, and of course, the level of mental health. Many children who are nurtured in a happy family will perform better in their examinations at school. They will obtain satisfactory employment and earn higher emoluments, higher incomes, higher salaries when they go to work. All of that can come from a stable family background. But sometimes people come from troubled families and they find it difficult to hold down a job or to have stable relations with their own partners because they never had the benefit of a stable household, growing up in a stable household. On the other hand, many families in Guyana and elsewhere, increasingly, are now headed by a single parent, usually a woman. And many adolescents, I don't have the statistics, and I don't think our census has given us these statistics recently. Many adolescents do not live with both parents during their childhood. Many children do not complete their childhood living with both parents, sometimes due to death, uh, sometimes due to divorce, sometimes due to separation, or in the worst cases, abandonment. And we will probably deal with the topic of abandonment some other time. But the family needs to be resilient in times of humanitarian crises, as we pass through with the epidemic, but also in times of high migration. And Guyana has had a high migration since the 1960s during those terrible disturbances triggered by the PPP's hurricane of protests. Since the 1960s, the mid 1960s, people have been migrating in Guyana in droves. Sometimes it was higher, sometimes lower. But there are now huge communities of, of Guyanese in Venezuela, in Puerto Ordaz, San Felix, in Toronto, in Brooklyn, in the Caribbean, Antigua, Barbados, St. Kitts Nevis, in Suriname and Nigeria. Some people calculate that half of the Guyanese-born population is living overseas. Well, I can't say, I don't know if anybody can say precisely. But migration puts stress on the family. And it means that sometimes the fathers go away hoping to make a better life and send back for the wife or children. Sometimes they don't remember to send back. And sometimes the wives go away and maybe leave the children or leave the husband. But once that happens, when adults feel it necessary to migrate to other countries, sometimes they migrate internally. Sometimes people go in the bush, they go in the hinterland to look for gold. And they, they never actually get back to the coastline where their first families still reside. So the migration could be internal, it could be external. But once there is economic stress in a country, adults are likely to leave the home in search of a better life. We do hope that they will return and help to strengthen the families that they left behind. Certainly, the COVID pandemic exacerbated family problems. Many young women, mothers, single mothers, faced dismissal from their jobs. It was a shame, it was a tragedy. And some of those young women had to look after their children, sometimes without the presence of a male partner. Over the last few years, too, the cost of living has increased, and earnings could hardly keep abreast of expenses. I think when a mother goes to the market, she can sometimes be astonished at the prices being asked. I mean, when you go to the market, you'll be told $1,200 for a pound of tomatoes or $500 for a mango. You can see the type of pressure people are under. $100 for a cucumber, and it is not easy. And sometimes you get a little boost to your wages and salaries, but by the time you go to the market, it's eaten up by higher prices. So there is a tremendous amount of stress on the family. And once the family is under economic stress, it will have emotional and psychological repercussions. Children in their adolescent years need the support of both parents, or maybe in some cases, two parents, so they could benefit from a balanced upbringing. The mother is always most important, and she would provide care and comfort, but the father is also important in a child's upbringing. Homes need the support of fathers and mothers. I'm not prescribing a particular formula, but I started this program by speaking about the Holy Family, which celebrates the presence of the child Jesus and the presence of the Mother Mary and the presence of the Father, Joseph. And that is regarded, I suppose, as the Christian ideal. Whether it's the modern ideal is another matter, but I know that Christians regard the Holy Family as being the model family. Where do we go from here in Guyana? It's my view that the family is still an essential social institution. And a stable family can help to overcome the disadvantages and the discrimination which people face in their day-to-day lives. Some of these negative values or negative events are not natural and they're not inevitable. But it is a fact that many of our women and girl children face these challenges, sometimes on a daily basis, at the workplace, at sport, at place of entertainment and relaxation. Policymakers, therefore, whether they're Christian or not, whether they accept the notion of a holy family or not, can help to make the family, the Guyanese family, a safe place, particularly for women and girl children, where everyone could enjoy the emotional comfort and the economic security and physical security which we need to have a balanced society and a stable nation. So it is not a matter of fathers and mothers alone. I think the state has an important role to play in helping to create this type of environment so that many of the negative elements and negative factors could be eliminated. The family, I believe, is essential to protecting social stability, stable relations. It can prepare young couples, inexperienced couples, adolescent couples for lifelong and loyal unions. Um, it can provide support. Mind you, I mentioned the word unions. um, it can provide support for members in distress because young people, people of all ages, would sometimes require support. And whether medical, financial, other forms of support. It can promote values of sound parenting, and it is very likely that children who grow up in stable families themselves will go on to create stable families when they form a union. Um, the family can flourish best, in my view, when men and women treat each other as equals and assume responsibility for their children so that the incidence of antisocial behavior could be reduced and dysfunctional households could be, to some extent, eliminated. In my view, a lot of criticism has been directed at families in Guyana. Every time there is some violence at school or sometimes on the street, maybe any type of antisocial behavior has been attributed to some family breakdown. I do not share the view that there is such widespread family breakdown. I think their absence of certain values and certain political direction, such as social cohesion, and sometimes uh, within a family, there could be conflict, yes, but between that family and other families, there could be conflict in the community and among groups of people who belong to maybe a political organization or trade union or something, could demonstrate hostility towards other members of society. Generally, social cohesion should help to eliminate those conflicts, whether at the household level or the community level, and certainly at the national level. But in the final analysis, whether you're Christian or not, whether you celebrate Christmas or not, uh, and I know many non-Christians, uh, once you're living in the Western Hemisphere, you can't be unaware of the importance of the festival of Christmas. Although I suppose for the traditional true believers, Christmas has lost its Christianity, and it is largely a commercial or sometimes even a matter, an opportunity for social um, entertainment. That's another matter. If you're a Christian or if you accept the value of the Holy Family that is enshrined in the doctrine of certain Christian churches, um, that is the coming together of the Christ child, his mother Mary, and his earthly father Joseph. You can see that society, if it adopts that notion or that idea or that ideal, could become more stable. A sound family, is a driver of social mobility, and it is capable of enhancing life's prospects. If you feel that the model of the Holy Family has been missed. Perhaps it is time for us all to look not at the Holy Family, if you have a problem with that concept, but try to create a happy family this Christmas. Regardless of the shape or the form of your family, have a happy Christmas. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Let us go on parade for the young. Let us go on parade for our land. Let us resolve to fight together. See we do it right together. Can we do it? Yes, we can.
Each man must